All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another installment in the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast. I'm your host, D.
This is Juice.
And I'm your girl, Ace.
Oh, come on, Ace. I thought you was going to come with the A to the C to the E. You know me. You know what I mean?
Like, y'all wasn't ready, so I know, right? Show y'all up this time.
That's cool, man. That's cool. You know I wasn't ready. I'm glad you did. So, word. So, welcome back, everybody, man. I'm sorry for the long hiatus. It's been about 3 weeks since we dropped the last episode. We had some technical problems last week. We did record, but unfortunately, we didn't get the episode out to you guys. But
this is going to be the real official episode 8.
Episode 8. We're back. So, first up, we were having a little conversation post-show, a pre-show, about men and women in relationships. And we were asking the question, just kicking it around, can men and women actually be just friends?
Just friends.
Oh, snap. Settle down.
Just be friends.
Just
only
be friends.
No benefits.
Not with benefits.
Nah.
Ace, would you care to expound on your
solely friendos?
So, okay. Perfect example. Me and Juice have been friends for about
50 some odd years.
Like at least 10 plus years or longer.
Alright.
And he and I have never did anything. Nothing from, not even kissed. We've never had sex. We've even slept in the same bed before, but nothing has happened. We are clearly just friends. He's like my big brother. So I totally agree that a guy and a girl can be just friends and nothing would ever happen between them.
That's not a whole lot of debate on my side on that. Like, I definitely think that's true. Like, from my experience, personally.
I agree, guys and girls, women and men can just be friends. I have female friends. I've had female friends that I've never done anything with. But there's always this underlying attractiveness that you have just that comes from being a man and a woman, right? Now, if you guys weren't since you guys used the example of yourselves, do you guys think that you would be friends if the other one was ugly or the other one had like a walk with a limp, or they weren't as attractive to you, right?
Okay.
I mean, right? I'm serious. Like, okay, Ace, and from your perspective, if Juice was an ugly guy, right? You know Juice is a handsome guy. If he was ugly, would you be as cool with Juice? Would you be friends with the ugly guy? Be like, this is my best friend. He's like my brother, you know? I mean, right? There has to be some kind of attractiveness that draws you close to each other to even be called friends.
I disagree, because let me give you a little brief history. I met Juice on a blind date. And when I first met him, I was like, oh my gosh, he's like not my type at all. So I wasn't attracted to him like that. At this
I think
time,
we heard this story.
Damn.
No.
I think we heard this story. Yeah, I think you did tell us before.
No.
I never heard this before.
Really? Yes, you have. Okay.
Wait. I got a question. Who was on the blind date?
My best friend, she got set up with his, at the time, best friend, I guess, Big John.
Shout out to Big John.
Big John? No, I met him. Yeah, I met him. Okay.
And my best friend didn't want to go out with Big John by herself. So she was like, Ace, you gotta come, blah, blah, blah. So that's how I ended up going out with Juice.
And I remember Big John coming to me and was like, yo.
I was just about to ask from your perspective. So what happened from your perspective?
Like, yo, I got a date with this girl. I'm trying to see what's up. So I need a wingman. And I was like, I ain't doing shit. I was just sitting in the dorms, So I was like, fuck it, let's roll. So, we went. I guess I made it a double date.
So y'all's first ever meeting was actually a date.
Wait, did I pay for you?
I don't remember.
Hey, if you paid for it, that's definitely a date.
No, Big John, I thought paid for all of us.
That's right. Big John paid for all of us because I had no job.
Oh, word.
That's right. So.
So first impression of Daniel, I was like, I don't think we talked that much. You know what I'm saying? Because I just wasn't interested in him. So wait,
did you approach it like, okay, I'm just going to do this favor for my girl. I'm just going to do this favor for my homeboy. Or did you approach it like, let me be open to this and see what could possibly come from this?
I approached it as my best friend didn't want to go by herself. She begged me to go with her because if I didn't go, she wasn't going to go, period. So that's how I went. And I was like, oh, it's a free movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I definitely would have been down for a free movie.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Big John paid for the movie. I'm down. Shout out to Big John.
Yeah.
So we went out, blah, blah, blah. And then, I had no intentions of talking to him again. And, then we seen him in the calf one day, in the big calf, me and my best friend. We was like, oh shit, we gotta go. So we left. Like,
you just gonna cut out like that?
We left.
My memory is so bad.
Come on now. Wait, why'd you cut out, Ace? Why'd you cut out? I want to know.
I think I do remember.
It was just like, cause we was like, oh, here they go. Like, we didn't want them to come
talking
talk.
to me.
Right. So, cause we wasn't interested in them like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then, fast forward years later, 2006, me and Juice, we did All City Entertainment.
Right.
And
I remember you
All City Entertainment is pretty much, so at our school in Norfolk State University we went to, there was a DJ in that area, DJ Vince. And he would pretty much host and DJ a lot of the parties that went down in that 757 area that, related to colleges and actually just other events in the area. Right? So he was just like the local DJ. So he had like a little crew in, I guess on each campus, but he definitely had a crew at Norfolk State University. And somehow or other, me and Ace came to one of the meetings,
And then from there, it was like he was cool. We had an interest for music, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, too, I think you was doing your photography, your art thing. We had talked about doing the whole Ace and Saint Productions.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we became cool. And then we actually went through a process together, and he ended up being my line brother. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, because we was always together doing different things, we just became close. But still, there was no physical attraction. We were just homies. You know what I'm saying? We were just friends.
Do you think there's always was there a, maybe not as much of a physical attraction, but maybe like a psychological attraction, right? Because that's the same thing, right?
So
you
there's
have to be
definitely
attracted to somebody on a mental level.
Right, there's definitely a difference in ways you
can
can be attracted to people. So me and Ace, we more or less clicked on a more mental level, I suppose, as far as, the things we're interested in, and I guess the jokes, things we laughed at. But as far as like physically, sexually attracted, it just didn't.
One thing I will say is like, you never know where friends are going to come from. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you guys met each other, regardless of whether there was attraction or not, y'all became friends, and however many years later, here we are tonight recording this podcast.
And
you know
we're
what I mean?
still friends.
So
and
that's
still never did anything.
That's a blessing. I mean,
later.
Regardless of doing anything or not, that's a blessing, though. You know what I mean? You never know where your peoples are going to come from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good lesson. Because I remember. Oh, I'm just going to throw this out there, but I remember like when I first met Ace, and me and John, after we left, we dropped y'all off. I was like, man. So how you do with your homegirl? So I was like, man, I think she's kind of into me. And I was like, man, she wasn't talking for shit.
I could
so
imagine
I was
Ace
like, man,
stuck up. Ace
I was like, man, she a little stuck up, man. But yeah,
hey,
see, that's the thing. Never judge, a book by its cover, because later y'all could be friends. Y'all could be cool. Just
that's what's up, man. I mean, I like I said, I definitely think that men and women can be friends. And just keep it at friends. But I do believe that there's always a certain level of attractiveness that draws the two together.
So
if you weren't attracted to each other physically or mentally, you wouldn't bond like that to even have time to become friends. You know what I mean? Men and women specifically. I'm not saying a woman to a woman or a man to a man, but men and women. That's just a human pair bonding that we can't measure those things. You know what I mean? It's like a chemical balance that comes into your brain. I mean, I'm speaking on like a metaphysical level now,
Same.
But
you cheat.
I've had women that were friends at first and then went to become more than friends. I've had women who were more than friends at first become friends after the fact, you know what I mean? But there's always that. It's always, I don't know. It's human pair bonding, man.
I wonder about like the whole psychological attraction thing. So have you guys ever experienced a scenario where you were particularly, like you find yourself clicking with the person on a mental level, right? Like you guys talk about the same things, you're interested in the same things, but you're not initially sexually attracted to each other, right? But has that psychological resonance ever translated to a physical resonance? Mm-hmm. Have you guys ever experienced that? So you're not particularly attracted to the person physically, and yet through your conversations, through your interactions, through your hangouts, you're like, oh well, wow, this person is more than I thought. But not simply for a friend level. I mean, on like a sexual level, has ever translated sexually.
I mean, of course.
I think that's where it always leads to. Like guys,
I think, honestly, from a man's perspective, speaking as a man, when you first lay eyes on a woman, a female, you always think level of attractiveness first. Okay, that's just one of
That's the first thing you see.
You could come around. You could be in Walmart. A woman come around the corner and bump into you. The first thing you're gonna think is if she's cute or not. You know what I mean?
Be like, damn, she got a fat ass.
Exactly. Like that's just the way that mind works. You know, because you don't know what's gonna come after that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know.
So there is definitely a segment or there's a line between those two areas.
But definitely, when you get to know somebody on a mental level, that's just getting to know them. And then that can heighten the attractiveness anyway.
And then, too, with sex, sometimes you might not, be physically attracted to that person. And so you need that mental stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that can make sex itself great.
Definitely.
If you just have, like,
especially on the woman's part.
Yeah.
I've read, not saying I'm an expert or nothing like that, but
I've
read in my research that, to achieve a heightened level of pleasure, a woman needs to be mentally into it, whereas a man is more physical stimulation.
Yeah.
We need to be mentally stimulated too, but I definitely think men and women can be friends. It depends on where you guys are taking it, whether you've been drinking that night or not. You know what I mean?
See,
like when you guys first went out, were you guys drinking at all?
No.
Well, there you go. That's why there was no attraction that first time.
Some people disagree.
Wait, Big John didn't buy y'all drinks?
No, we wasn't.
Oh, went to the movies. Okay, my bad.
So some people disagree. Like, I actually had this conversation before with someone, and what they said was a guy and a girl can be just friends, but at one point or another, they will fall for each other. Maybe temporarily, maybe at the wrong time, maybe too late, or maybe forever. So basically, they're saying there's no way possible that a guy and a girl can right.
Because even if y'all start out on that mental level, where we're not attracted to each other mentally or physically, but we're attracted mentally, just building upon that mental attraction will lead to physical attraction. Especially if you realize, hey man, this girl is cool, or this guy's cool, and we're into the same things. We like doing the same things. We laugh a lot. Laughing is a powerful emotion.
It's
a powerful thing. You can make a girl laugh, or you and a man can laugh together. That's very powerful. It's levity. It's stress relief.
I think there still needs to be an element of physical attraction. Like I don't think that they can just be your mental connection, your mental attraction to each other. Like, oh, this person is great, and then there be zero physical attraction. It has to be a relative amount. Because I've had friends before. We clicked, we were cool. And we hung out, and man, like I love this chick. She was great. She was my homie. And yet, I just know for a fact, like I just couldn't go that way, And it's because me and this other person weren't. We had, well, at least I personally on my part had zero physical attraction for her body type, and that was a thing for me with that person. It just didn't work out.
Is that a thing?
And I didn't go. I just couldn't go.
It has to be the extreme left or right for a guy not to be physically attracted to a girl, right? Because she can be ugly, and she can be a butterface.
But there's also another element, which is a level of respect, So that's another thing.
I feel that.
So you just wouldn't want to go there for a different reason. But there's definitely that level. Is like if you're zero, there can be a zero attraction physically. And you just don't want to you don't even want to walk down that path.
That's also another myth we'd like to depose here on the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, episode number 8, is that men, we actually do maintain and have a level of respect for women, especially our women friends, women we call friends, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's not that we're not attracted to you mentally or physically. Sometimes it's just that we respect the relationship.
Right.
That's a good point.
And we don't want to push it too far without acknowledgement or confirmation from the female,
right? Because not only Juice, I have another best male friend, Trey.
We gotta depose that myth here too. What is a best friend to a female? What is that?
We're all about deposing myths on Intelligent Idea Talkers.
Like both Juice and my other best male friend, I've never did anything, with either one of them. Same situations, we both slept in the same bed. Me and Trey, me and Juice, we've all been around. We've all drank and whatever, partied, and still nothing happened.
We've been around each other's dates. Like we've been around. Like it's in that kind of relationship where we've been able to be completely open with one another.
And
Like,
that's what makes the male and female friends so dangerous. Real quick before I forget, sorry to cut you off, Ace.
Mm-hmm.
So dangerous because you can survive those interactions with each other's significant others and still maintain your level of friendship and respect and your quote unquote commitment to each other. Friends have commitments. You guys are committed to each other.
Yeah.
Just not on the boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband level. But that's what makes the male-female friend so dangerous, and so, you gotta kind of look at it sometimes because you can make it through those tough situations and talk about, she can talk to you about a guy she was messing with. You can talk to her about a girl you was messing with. And that builds that relationship up. You know what I mean? It builds that trust. And that's important in a relationship too.
So, okay, 3 quick things since you cut me off.
Sorry.
No.
I forgive me.
No. So I was going to say, because you were talking about how, like, for example, there's been times when you talk about respect. So there was times at my life where I felt like my best friend and even Juice was like, I had to question their sexuality because they never came on to me. You know what I'm saying? So as a female, I'm just like, I'm thinking, am I ugly or are they gay? They're not interested in me. So that's when you said about the respect, I can see that part. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because even a lot of people, even the rest of the crew was like, they could.
She thought I was gay?
That's it. A lot of times you just respect the female. You don't want to press. You don't want to ruin the relationship.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
That's it. It's not that I don't like you or not attracted. I just don't want to ruin what we had.
Not saying
she
I
definitely thought she was gay though.
No, it was just different. It was just different because I'm so.
You thought he was different?
I was just different because I'm used to guys. You know what I'm saying? Always trying to holler at me.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So when he came around and it wasn't like that, you know what I'm saying? I was just like, okay, maybe he isn't into me like that. We're just friends. We're cool. You know what I'm saying? So just to say that we can just be friends. Another point I wanted to say was you asked, what is a male best friend? A male best friend is like a female best friend.
Because a best friend implies singular, but women can have multiple best friends. Who is your best friend? Your best is the best.
I have a best female and best male.
Females have the pick of the litter. They can pick. They can choose who is their best friend and who's not. They have more choices as far as relationships, friend or not, than the men do. So, they have more control over the whole interaction or relationship.
To be a best friend, and you got to go through certain things. You have to be friends for a certain amount of years. You just got to be loyalty, you know what I'm saying, not respect. And it's just, Juice has seen me at my worst times. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's seen me in situations where no other guy that I have been involved with has seen me. You know what I'm saying? I won't talk about those right now. But I'm just saying that's what makes him a best friend, because even through whatever, he's still always been there. You know what I'm saying? And I know he will still always be there. Even when he has a girlfriend. I'd be like, hold on, I was there first, but I got to show that same respect. You know what I'm saying? That now she might become his best friend, but I'm still going to be there because I've always been there.
I definitely always thought that was like an element of what makes people close, Like, I think that there's no real true meaningful friendships if you haven't experienced a period of serious adversity and had that other person either go through it with you or help you through it, And I think those are definitely turning points in people's relationships. Like, without that period of negativity, and having that person there for you, like, you won't know. Like, those are times in your life where you actually see who's with you, who's, when shit hits the fan, like, who's going to look out for you.
Yeah,
and that's the only way. Best friends, because I've had best friends, they're no longer best friends. Because when shit got real,
if a best friend is no longer a best friend, were they ever a best friend?
You could question that too.
I don't know, man. It's like male and female pair bonding is so weird. You don't know what attracts, what doesn't, what will, what won't. But most of the time, when you have a female best friend and the guy doesn't come on to you, that's just a level of respect. You know what I mean? It's not that the guy doesn't like you or is not attracted to you or anything like that. It's just sometimes you don't know when to press the boundary and when not to. You don't want to mess up what you have.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so, and sometimes when I've had a girl before, we won't mention any names, me and her were friends for a while, and then all of a sudden the girl tried to become more than friends. And she had been messing with a couple of guys who I was cool with and everything like that, and I just didn't want to ruin the relationship that was based upon maybe some feelings that had came up recently. You know what I mean? We had been friends too long at that point to change it to anything but friends, And, even to right now, we don't really talk as much anymore. I don't know if that's because of situations that went down or maybe just life happenings. I mean, we've all had kids since then. Everybody except for Ace. Ace,
Shout out
he has
to
some babies.
the
No,
the
Ace,
chicks with
no, you
kids.
need to have some babies, okay? Where the babies at? All right. No. But I'm glad that things didn't turn out to be more than they were. I didn't want to mess anything up. Man, there was a point that you were talking about earlier, Ace, that I wanted to expand on, man, but I cannot remember, so I guess we're just going to
It's like sometimes it's better to appreciate a relationship as is.
For what it is,
Yeah.
exactly.
For what it is, what it provides you in the moment,
As opposed to what you think it can
Now,
be.
there are definitely people out there who would disagree with us wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
saying, I just disagree.
I've been in
Like,
situations where I was friends with a girl. She friend-zoned me. The way kind of Ace just did to you. Oh, he's like my brother. That's friend-zoned. Yeah, you just got friend-zoned.
Friend-zoned this.
So, yeah, I've been friend-zoned where I would have
country.
liked to make more of the situation, but I wasn't able to. So, I mean, it can go either way, Sometimes you want to maintain the friendship. Sometimes you want to turn the friendship into a relationship. It's just, it's weird, man. We'll never understand the dynamics of human pair bonding. I don't know how many times I've said that this podcast, human pair bonding. It's like, it had to be like the 8th time I've said human pair bonding.
For this,
you know what I mean?
Pair bonding.
Human pair
Human
bonding.
pair bonding.
That's definitely an interesting topic, man. Definitely an interesting topic. I kind of wish we had, maybe more female perspectives here to kind of understand.
Or some contrarian.
Yeah, because sometimes, like, you're friends with a female, you want to make it more than that.
Have you ever wanted to be more than just friends with
But
me?
what usually stands in the way? I have a question. What usually stands in the way? Is it another...
To answer the question.
From a woman perspective, what usually stands in the way? Is it another man that maybe you're talking to at that time? Is it the fact that you guys don't want to mess up what is? I mean, what stands in the way of the woman, from a woman perspective, pushing the relationship further than just friends? I mean, not for you two in particular, but just in general.
I remember one time, Juice's mom said to me, she was like, Ace, you and Juice need to just be together. Y'all are best friends.
Now, see, that's different.
I was like,
Juice mom tried to
get
get me and Juice to be together, okay? Like, it's just,
wait, what?
Juice mom, whoa. Yeah, look, Juice mom trying to hook him up with everybody. I can see Juice mom is like one of them, like, the neighborhood mamas, you know what I mean? Like, she just come around, ooh, girl, come in and get something to drink, you know what I mean? Like, just so hospitable, and,
But no,
that's real shit though. Like, she don't try to pay me with them. Everybody.
Yeah, the next door neighbor.
When you gonna give me some grandchildren?
Yeah,
all right,
some grandbabies up there.
Calm down.
But no, I asked you a question.
So yeah, as far as like, I don't know. Like, I just gotta say, I always respected our relationship. Like, we used to travel together. You know what I'm saying? Like, we used to go to unknown territory, i.e.
Elizabeth City,
North Carolina, Hampton, like places we was at, like we don't know these people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's always good to have Ace as my, having my back. It's always felt like a secure thing knowing that Ace is gonna have my back. Relationships are always messy, but it's always good to kind of feel that relationships, when they can get messy,
Mm-hmm.
But when we have a good, strong, solid friendship, it's like I can keep that trump card, on my side, like that person on my side, and just always be able to look out for me. That's kind of what I feel like our relationship is.
Because a friend doesn't have anything to like kind of move their feelings in a negative way towards you, or we're friends. I can accept your good and you can accept my bad, and vice versa. You know what I mean? And there's no personal feelings in between it. You're not like, man, that's fucked up. I can't believe you did that to me. We're friends. You're supposed to understand where I'm coming from and what's happening to me. And I feel you guys. That's the relationship you guys have. But there's always that level of attractiveness that's there underneath the surface. I don't care what y'all say. There's been a time when both of y'all have thought about being together. Okay, that's just the dynamics between having a man and a woman.
I'm a male, goddammit. Like,
exactly. So it's always there. It's always there underneath the surface, man. I've thought about it with women I'm friends with. Maybe women who I'm friends with have thought about it with me. I don't know, but there's always that underlying level of attractiveness, and that just comes with being man and woman.
But the end result,
a
man and a female can be
just friends. Yes. We all agree. You agree, Juice?
Yeah. So we slammed the gavel on that jump.
Mm-hmm. Doom. Maybe we should have a gavel. That should be
gavel.
Like our subject change
table,
thing. Yeah. So we slammed the gavel on this. All right. So I guess a lot of things have been going on in the news. Black men been getting shot, killed recently. We have presidential candidates, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, and they've, especially Donald Trump, have been bringing out a certain level of hatred, bringing racism, and just, everything has been coming to the forefront lately with the whole Black Lives Matter. Oh, no, Blue Lives Matter. Oh, no, all lives matter. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah, so we're just going to raw dog it. Hopefully my pullout game is strong. So. All right. So anyway,
they were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a crazy transition, right? Crazy segue.
Oh, shit.
But I was just explaining that this country is coming to a racial ledge. It's coming to a racial cliff, and we're going to have to decide which way we're going to go soon. You have candidates in office like Donald Trump who are bringing a lot of racial tension with them.
Not even just tension, it's more about an allowance to be racist, an allowance to say, or to what they say, quote unquote, to speak the truth, which is really just saying.
Is it an allowance, or is it a freedom? He's bringing racial freedom to it, for freedom for people to be able to speak their minds and feel how they feel.
Well, they've always had that ability, but now they're trying to make it seem as if it's the right way to go. Now they're trying to make it seem as if, oh, our opinions here, these racist opinions we have, are facts. And they could always say them. Mm-hmm. But they wouldn't say them publicly because they know that they have been shunned.
I mean, you look at guys like Philando Castile, who was shot recently. There was another gentleman who was shot with his hands up, laying down in the streets. What's the guy's name?
Charles Kinsley, yeah.
Charles Kinsley.
Recently shot with his hands up,
trying
laying
to help
down.
One of his clients, one of his patients.
Right. Now, how do you do that? Is that a lack of training on the officer's part, or is that a underlying level of racism and hatred and just expectation for the worst and the most negative possible outcome?
Did you heard the officer's response when he asked him why he's an officer, why did you shoot me? Mm-hmm. The officer's response was, I don't know. Because why? Like, I don't know why I shot you. You seemed like you need to be shot. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what do you mean you don't know?
Was that because I felt like it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
you were laying there black, and I was uncertain of what you were going to do, so I shot you just in case.
That's a funny statement. You were laying there black. I'm sorry. It infuriates me to no end.
It does.
Did you all hear about how I think it was in North Miami, the police department there, they used mugshots of black men for target practice?
I saw the post. I didn't read it, but I did see that post on my Facebook feed.
So, like, do you think that makes me wonder, like, all police officers that are not us, not black, if that's what their goal is, just to go out and shoot other black men?
I don't believe that.
There's been a consistent bias for years. Like, we're lucky now that we have cameras, but the consistent bias of violence towards black men has something that's been going on since black people have been in this country. Like, ever since the police have been used to keep black people in check. Like, what was it? We were listening to Umar Johnson, right? Mm-hmm. And he posted a video in our group chat. And it was Umar Johnson on the Breakfast Club. And he was talking about how when they initially freed, quote unquote, freed black people, freed slaves, that the idea wasn't necessarily to have them free. They weren't going to hire these people. They weren't going to allow them to live normal lives. Mm-hmm. So what they did is they instituted forces. That's when the prison complex first began to be something as big as it is, to have these maximum security prisons, these far out places that are built solely to keep people away for their entire lifetimes. And that happened because all these black people were no longer slaves. The white people weren't willing to give them jobs. And so they created those vagrancy laws. So where if you were unemployed and black, and I recall reading a Frederick Douglass book, and he spoke about those. If you're unemployed and black, that they would arrest you and put you in prison. And that's just where you would be. Mm-hmm. Just to put you, and they will put you to work in those prisons. So it was just another form of slavery.
Being unemployed and black led to you thieving, stealing, robbing, just to survive.
Right. And the police, the boys in blue, I don't know if they're in blue, but the police were the arbiters of that. You know, they were the people who were the liaisons, getting these people from the streets who needed help, throwing them in jail because they're black and poor. So that's the legacy of the police. And you look at that.
He explained when Lincoln released the slaves, it was an emancipation. Yeah. Emancipation is just a release from bondage. Now, this is according to Dr. Umar Johnson in an interview from the Breakfast Club. A release from bondage doesn't mean that we're willing to share with you jobs and wealth and lifestyles and equality. That's just releasing you from bondage. And they didn't release us from bondage, speaking as the North, just purely out of the goodness of their hearts. They realized that slavery was an unsustainable system of income and an unsustainable way to build your economy in your country through slavery. You couldn't maintain and oppress a people and also technologically advance your country at the same time. The North had a lot more machinery. They had more factories, whereas the South had slave labor to drive their workforce.
Technology was becoming what it is.
Exactly. And
it's growing.
I guess maybe the Northerners realized that for foreign and public relations that they couldn't maintain that system of slavery as a country. So that's when the South decided to secede from the Union and what sparked the Civil War. The Union didn't release the slave or emancipate the slaves because they wanted to and because we were they were just good people. I'm sure if they could have maintained that system of slavery and kept the Union intact without the South seceding, they would have done that. So those same decisions and ramifications are still vibrating through today. That wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was 200 years.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Like this. I mean, somebody put it this way. I think it was Louis C.K. put it this way. He said it's 4 really old people. No, 2 really old people living back to back. How old it was? Mm-hmm. How far ago that was in the past?
It's not even a speck in time yet. Yeah. I mean, it's 200 years. Exactly. So those feelings and those tensions and those ways of thinking don't just disappear.
So, and then also, I remember reading an article, and this is just, look, we don't want to give police excuses. We want to hold them to a higher standard. We don't want to condemn them, because not all police are bad. It's obvious not all police are bad. I meant to say that earlier
when Ace was talking. We don't want to put all police in the
same
mold.
Right.
Yeah, they're not all the same.
You know, times have changed.
Just like not all black people are the same. You might see me walk down the street and I might look thuggish, or I might look like I'm up to no good, or I might look a certain way and you just typecast me into this certain mold before you even get to know me. But I could be a student at Norfolk State. I could be anything. I'm not a thug. I'm not a gangster. You know what I mean?
That's what Black Lives Matter is about. It's about the police offering black Americans, black people, the same courtesy of not understanding that all black people are thugs and criminals. Not all black people are one thing.
Even though we may look the part.
Even though as many as police shoot unarmed black people, that we don't label them and typecast them all as the same thing. That's all Black Lives Matter has been about. The granting us the same courtesy we grant them. Mm-hmm. You know?
That's what it was coming down to.
What point was about to make?
My bad, I'm cutting you off. I gotta stop doing that, man. I gotta stop cutting you guys off to make my point. Because then you guys forget your point, and then my point gets made. And then I end up looking like the cool guy because my point got made on the podcast. And then y'all go back and listen and be like, yo, Derek's an asshole. He didn't let me make my point. You know what I mean?
Point made.
Yeah, thank you.
But, so yeah, Philando Castile, that didn't have to happen. Mm-hmm. Alton Sterling, didn't have to happen.
Those videos are really scary.
Kingsley. Charles Kingsley. It didn't have to happen. And we just that's all Black Lives Matter is about. And I hate that they're constantly, and it's not just white people. It's not just the RNC and their ridiculousness. It's not just the media organizations. It's a lot of people who try to misframe Black Lives Matter and what they're about. It's uneven. Like when Bill O'Reilly came on the news and was talking about how Dr. Martin Luther King would be ashamed at Black Lives Matter because that's not how the way he did things. Obviously, you know not what he talks about. I just finished going through this the book The Death of the King, Martin Luther King story, and how he was constantly misframed, constantly misrepresented by the media. Washington Post and the New York Times constantly calling him all kinds of things that he wasn't, calling him a rabble-rouser and violent, and how they were always trying to associate violent riots, that may have happened in the frustration of people with Dr. King, even though his primary principle, his primary focus was peaceful protests and civil disobedience.
So, being that you just brought that up, I had a training last week, and in that training, we were talking about, what it would be like if what is going on now, if we took somebody from the past and brought them forward. For example, they were saying, what if there was one person that could be our leader, I guess, kind of like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King that stood up, even though, they might have to go to different storefront corners and preach and talk about this and talk about that, but that one person could actually do a Black Lives Matters movement. Because, I see all the time hashtags and people doing this, but what are people actually doing about it? You know what I'm saying? Other than posting stuff and doing marches, what else can be done to really represent Black Lives Matter, to really make things change?
It has to happen through the legal system. It has to. We have to start acting legally, you know what I mean, to really affect change. It has to go through the court system and the legal system in the United States. I mean,
if there was a war, I've heard this before. If there was a war, and if you know how the one assassin Micah, who we do want to come back to, we'll talk about, but how he started shooting those police. If there was literally a war between black people and the government, it wouldn't be much of a war. And because, quote, Umar Johnson, black people aren't ready. Or was it Turk and Sheep? Either way, be a war. Black people are not ready. We get all of our food from the government. From, not even just the government, from the system that's set up for us. We can't farm. We don't produce our own ammunition. We don't produce our own food. There's no war. There wouldn't be any war. So we have to.
You could say the same thing for the mass of the United States, though.
Yes, that's true.
White, black,
they have us
Hispanic,
under the thumb of the government.
That's just the capitalist society.
Is the government set up to actually help us? Because just speaking on that about the legal system, all these shootings of black men by police officers, if you notice, every one of them, they have gotten off. Where's the justice at? You know what I'm saying? Where's the legal system in the courts for that? Even with the Freddie Gray case that's going on in Baltimore.
Oh my God!
All
the
of
cops
those,
got acquitted.
Yeah, come on now. Even when the cops shoot Alton Sterling or Philando Castile, what happens? They go on administrative leave.
Right.
They're still getting paid.
Leave.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So where's the legal system at for us? Where's the courts for us? Who's going to support us? Who's going to help us?
And that's what Umar Johnson was saying, is that the Constitution, the legal system, was not written to support us in the first place. We weren't deemed as human beings when the Constitution was written. Mm-hmm. I was watching a documentary called Hidden Colors 4 earlier this week, and they were talking about just the image that we have of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and all these men that signed the Declaration of Independence and just all these historical figures that in our mind we've been trained to think that, man, this was a great man. This is he was a war general and a war hero. George Washington was a slave owner. You know what I mean? A lot of these men that were there to sign the Constitution of the United States were slave owners. Exactly. Yes. They were not writing it for us. We were property to them.
Right.
We
were 3/4 of a human.
If I go in there and I say, if I say the name George Washington, right? To any classroom, to just us, even before we had this conversation, you would think, man, he was a general in the Continental Army. He's a war hero. First president of the United States.
Something about a damn cherry tree.
Where would slave owner fall into that? You might think about it after the first president of the United States and all of that.
Well, you've seen the pictures and the history.
Exactly, man. And it's why don't we learn more about our history in school? Those same racist tendencies to suppress our culture and our knowledge about ourselves is still happening today. We're separated from our culture. We don't know where we come from in Africa. You'd have to do a DNA test. Ancestry.com. Thank you, Ace, to really find out where we came from.
It's definitely worth it. And I haven't
done it yet. That's ridiculous, right? We know more about George Washington and
we know about our own selves.
Than we know about ourselves and our people and where we come from.
I think, look, so I'm just going to throw this out there, and, a lot of people might disagree with me. I don't care. But I definitely think that should be, if there's nothing else that is given to black people, we should be able to be allowed to trace our history and have it be covered by the government. I think that we're not going to get reparations. I know that's not going to happen. But we should at least be allowed to know our history. They should provide us a means to do that. Even if you don't have the money, if you don't have the means to do that, you should be able to go and be like, hey, I want to know my history, and they be able to provide it for us. I want to know where I came from. I want to know where my ancestors came from.
It dawned on me this week when I was watching that why don't we know more about where we came from and who we are? Why do I know more about Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and these slave owning men who were in control of the country? And we have to understand, these weren't common men. These were the rich. They were the powerful guys. You know what I mean? And it's like our history was stolen from us. You know, we don't know about the Egyptian kings. And even when you look at something simple like Hollywood whitewashing, we were talking about a couple podcasts ago, you know, they'll take a role who was originally black, i.e. Cleopatra, and change it to white. That's a psychological way of training your way of thought, your way of thinking, to where, you know, white is right. You know what I mean? And we explained last week on, well, technically not last week because we lost that audio, that we're not here to white bash. We don't white bash people. For anybody that listens to this podcast, we're not here to just beat up white people. I know white people that are not racist and don't have anything to do with,
who are absolutely empathetic to the plights black people go through.
Exactly what their ancestors did. They're just people here surviving in this country,
just like
taking care of their families and paying their bills, like we are. But it can't be understated that we are all black on this podcast panel, and that we speak from things from a black perspective. And I know for a fact that I've been profiled when I walk into a store. Being an honest, tax-paying, working citizen that I am, I've been profiled and deemed maybe this guy's going to steal something. Maybe he's going to come in and cause trouble. When none of those things are true.
Follow through the aisles.
Exactly. And
even for me as a black female.
Yeah.
We notice the differences between being white and being black. And there's certain things that we have to put up with as black people that white people don't have to put up with. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was just funny to me, man. I sat back and I thought about that, and you know, they were talking about ancient African civilizations and just the Moors and how they came into Spain, and they gave a lot of knowledge and arithmetic and mathematics to spread it across Europe, and how that knowledge was kind of taken and stolen from the Moors, and ended up being turned into a religious battle, which, as we know now, is like the Crusaders and the Muslims. It's just our history is so washed down and watered down that we don't really know where we come from.
And you know what?
And I wish I had this knowledge back in high school, because I would have asked these questions sitting in that classroom. You know, why are we learning about this history when we don't know where we come from?
And that's definitely like a good point you make, because I was just thinking about Rudy Giuliani came in the news recently, and he wasn't Giuliani. It was Stephen King, some politician asshole, not the author, but he was talking about how who has ever presented or produced any contribution to civilization other than the European, you know, other than the Western European. And
what?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's
like,
contributed more to civilization?
To civilization than the European.
Who's destroyed a bit more destructive to civilization than Europeans? You know,
to world civilization
across the world. Exactly.
Yeah, you can put it right back on them.
But think about South America, Africa, you know,
that's a person who's experienced the education that you were just talking about. The education of people who other cultures don't matter, other histories don't matter. There's no world perspective. It's only United States and the European perspective on history. The only ancient history we got was Greek and back to Ulysses and
we know
Roman
more
time.
about Greek and Roman history than we know about African history.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous to me.
And I understand it. It's about propaganda. They want everybody to think a certain way. So fine. But it's not right. I think the idea or the right move to make is just, I think that we would need to teach ourselves. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to instill to our children, to the youth around us, to our brothers and sisters, to our friends, you know, that if you don't look into it yourself, they're not going to tell you. And there's a rich history from where we come from, you know. And if we don't appreciate it, they're not going to allow us. They're not going to give it to us to appreciate it.
Of course they will.
So as you were just saying, we have to teach ourselves.
Right.
We have to read more. Also, as I had mentioned earlier, the only way that we'll get our own history through school is if we're in college, like we said, and you have to take African American studies. You know what I'm saying? I think when I went to Norfolk State, I had maybe like 2 African American history classes.
I didn't have a single one.
And that's because I registered for them. They were my electives. They weren't part of my curriculum. You know what I'm saying?
On it.
Which is ridiculous.
If you go to HBCU, African American history 1 and 2 should be part of your curriculum.
That
not electives. It should be part of your base.
That should be part of your base curriculum in high school. When you're old enough to understand, starting in middle school.
Entire class.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous that we're a part of this country. We've done so much to build up this country.
The only history that we get in school is the Black history for that month. And even then, we only learned about George Washington Carver, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks.
It's the same
Other
people.
than that, there's nobody else. It's
nobody
like those are the only
and
Black people.
Black American history.
Right.
I'm talking about further than that, man.
Right,
We need to go back to
like Africa.
African history, where we came from, where they took these people from, what lands they invaded and went into, what dealings they had with these African dignitaries, because common myth is that they came and stole us. A lot of these black people were sold into slavery by the leaders that they had in these African countries that they went into. So, I mean, just to have that base knowledge, you shouldn't have to make it through 12, 13 years of school before you start learning about these things.
Because by that time, you already got in your head, it's a white man.
You've been programmed.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And the reason we started off talking about Donald Trump and all that, like I said, this country's reaching a fever pitch, a racial cliff that we're all about to fall off of. And I think Donald Trump is doing a good job at bringing these racial tensions to the forefront. Not from a black perspective, but from a white perspective.
You know what? I think it's both. I think there it is from a black and a white perspective. So Trump has definitely riled everybody up from a black and white perspective. He's allowed white people to think it's okay to say certain stereotypically negative things about black people and then quote unquote call it the real truth or the truth.
From that perspective, I guess it is okay. It is okay. That's how they feel.
But he's also given black people tension, and that tension comes out in different ways, And one of those ways it came out, along with the shooting of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile, was the Micah Xavier Johnson, was the person who shot at the Dallas peaceful protests.
Allegedly shot at the I mean, I say allegedly only because I don't believe a word that the mass media says anymore.
They definitely can skew some shit, but whatever it was, somebody was shooting at white police. And that was the reaction not only to the shootings of those black men, those innocent, unarmed black men, who we don't know if they're innocent, because they didn't get a fucking trial, but also because of the racial tension in the United States and the fact that Black Lives Matter is somehow being skewed as a hate group by certain media, stuff like that. And
how could you skew that as a hate group?
Some people
I don't even get the logic in that. That's why I don't pay any attention to Blue Lives Matter and All Lives Matter.
And I think that whole Black Lives Matters to an extent. Black
Lives Matter started because black people were getting shot.
That's why
unarmed on video.
Right. But the whole Trayvon Martin. Was that when it first started?
I mean, so All Lives Matter started then, but Blue Lives Matter. I don't pay any attention to that shit.
Another proponent of why it became about.
I mean, it's crazy, man. I think that Donald Trump is definitely giving white people a voice to speak about how they really feel. I think one trap that we fell into as American citizens is thinking that racism was gone away. I remember a couple years ago, and people were saying, do you think there's racism? And I honestly thought that things were getting better. I honestly thought that racism's gone. I was like, I don't experience any racism. Nobody comes up to me and calls me a nigger in my face. Nobody openly discriminates against me when I walk into a store. But in the last couple of years, I've started to notice it more. It's come more to the surface. Racism is alive and well. They don't openly discriminate to you in your face anymore. They do it using the system now.
Right. It's a systematic discrimination.
And Umar Johnson said this in his interview at the Breakfast Club. Why is it that you can go get a student loan and a car loan and a house loan, all these loans to get you in debt, but you can't get a viable business loan to help start up a business?
Nothing of sizable or relevant.
He was saying that they don't want to financially empower the people that they're trying to push out and squeeze out. You know, we're not needed. America was built off the backs of slaves. They needed our slave labor to drive the economy forward. We're no longer needed for the economic system to work, which is why you see all these different ways systematically that they're trying to suppress black people. Don't give them business loans. Make it harder for them to go to school. Make it harder for them to get out of the ghetto. Even make it harder for them to eat healthy. You know what I mean? Make it harder for them to do these simple, basic things to survive. And when you sit back and think about all these things that have been going on the last year or two, couple years, you see that racism is alive and well. It's not gone. You know,
right.
The country is still largely built off racism, man. And it's crazy because, I know myself, I was on the edge of thinking that racism was gone. Racism was a thing of the past. People are being accepted.
We grew up in a diverse area, man. Like, we did. We definitely grew up in a place where we grew up with Latino and Asian and white and black. Like, everybody's on our street, you know?
You think about, like, maybe somewhere in Kentucky or some southern state, or not southern, but just some other different part of the country where those racial tensions never left.
It's real.
Yeah, they were there. You see it. It's there. It's in your face, Yeah, maybe you're right, man. Maybe the area we grew up in has something to do with it, but it's crazy, man. I mean, Hidden Colors 4, people. Watch that movie if you listen to this. Watch that.
Just real quick, when you just said that, I'm thinking, like, of all the shootings, have they mostly been, like, down south? You know what I'm saying? If you think back to Trayvon Martin, that was in Florida.
Philando Castile was in Minnesota.
Okay.
Which I'm pretty sure is probably racist, just because it's in the northern state.
That area. I remember that they were talking about that area, that street he got pulled off on, he got pulled over on, was a place where black people in the area were like, look, don't go down that way because you're just going to be targeted. I remember talking about how there were certain areas, and that wasn't necessarily a black area he was in, but he was a black man in that area. And then often, and I think you mentioned it earlier, how many times he had been pulled over.
Oh, yeah, he got pulled over 49 times in the last 13 years.
For, like minor traffic violations.
Which is an unusual number of times to be pulled over.
And
I've probably been pulled over maybe 5 times.
Yeah.
Not 49 times. Damn, man, what were you doing?
13.
Over 13 years is a lot. Like, I'm not going to say it was that many over 13.
It was like one every 3 months.
I got pulled over a bunch of times over probably 13 years.
But I mean, geez, man. Like, what, 49 times?
And they said a lot of his cases, a lot of those were thrown out because they knew that the reason they were pulling him over, minor traffic violation, things he either just got fixed or things that the judge was like, this is nothing. Like, I think I heard one of them was he had something hanging in his rearview mirror.
And the judge got put up for, like, the dark tent, not having a lighted license plate, broken tail lights.
Lighted license plate?
I guess.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Your license plate is supposed to be lighted, but still, 49 times. Jeez. Y'all name all those things, and I think maybe 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. 49? Damn.
It goes to
you
show
must
he
either
was
you must either live in a racist area, or he was, maybe doing something to warrant being pulled over that amount of times. I mean, 49 is a lot of times, man.
And then they also mentioned, too, that he drove, like, with a suspended license for, like, 6 years or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They always got to bring out something.
Which still doesn't, of course they're going to try to paint him black and sully his image after they fucked up and shot him and killed him.
Right, they're going to try to
for the world to see.
But that's the thing. With him, they have almost nothing to smear him on. And I love that, and I hate it at the same time, because this guy didn't deserve to die. But it also just goes to show that they'll do anything to try to smear a black face on the media. This is the same reason they pulled up Alton Sterling's photos. So the photo they used on Fox News and on the news media to depict who he was, the first pictures they pulled were mugshots from like 15 years earlier when he was like a young dude. Those are the first pictures they pulled up to represent. Even though at that point in time he was a grown man, he was much older, he looked completely different. But that's not the photos they chose. They didn't chose him and his family.
Right.
Yeah, he had minor or I don't know if they're minor, but anyway, he had issues in the past. But that's not, you don't use that to smear somebody who's died in such a tragic, horrible way, And they do that just to smear.
To try to cover themselves and make it, show that they don't have to be accountable for their actions because this person was like that.
I think Umar Johnson, and I keep referring to this because I recently watched it, but they say what would make it okay for the police to execute this person? Oh, if he wasn't a good black man that everybody likes, or that everybody that is doing what the white man says, that he's a person who has any unsavory characteristics. Then a lot of people look at it and be like, oh, well, of course. Why would we be mad that they shot this guy? He's obviously a criminal who deserves it, even though it's not true. Selling CDs is not a crime executable by death. Not listening to the police is not a crime executable by death.
I think, speaking as black people, we're always the ones that kind of buck up against the system instead of staying as status quo. I think sometimes we tend to forget that white people are still the majority. They still own most of the wealth and the, just the capital in this country. So when you see a story covered on mass media like Fox News or CNN or CSNBC, those are, I don't really hate to say it, but they are white, male-controlled companies. They're going to try to skew things a certain way. They're still the majority. They don't want to look like the bad guys. You have to imagine that some white people do feel bad. They don't, when you look throughout history and look around the world, South America, Africa, North America with the Native Americans, just like they were saying on these documentaries that we're referencing, white Europeans are like the diabolical villains in all of these stories. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you have to imagine that some of that affects their psyche. Like, they don't want to be looked at as the bad guy all the time. Yeah, we shot this unarmed black guy, but look at this bad criminal photo of him. He was a criminal anyway. Who cares? You know what I mean? When you look at it seriously, they really are like the diabolical comic book villains. They're changing history. They're going in and invading countries and stealing natural resources. They're spreading plagues. Yeah,
people in their religion.
They were talking about how they don't want to actually go to war with a lot of these countries that they're invading, so they go in and give them malaria-filled blankets and drop off plague
or just give them weapons.
And just give them weapons, let them war amongst each other and kill each other out. Then they'll go in and take the land.
Like they set up, like in Africa, man. In Africa, they set up so many situations where Africans are warring against Africans over silly, stupid borders that they didn't have before the Belgian or the British came.
And you have to imagine, with today's level of understanding and knowledge, that these people have to feel bad to some extent, right? Right? No, that's just being human. You have to feel bad for what you've done to the world. Some of them.
Maybe
not 100%, maybe 50%.
But they're the hippies. Those guys are the hippies, and they're not part of us. And they try to those guys in prison for marijuana and silly drugs. Those are the people that feel bad about the white dominant society history.
It's crazy, man. All this stuff that's coming to the forefront is making me not trust my own country. I don't trust a single thing I hear on mass media. I don't trust anything I hear out of a politician's mouth. We were talking about the way Donald Trump speaks and the words he uses. Yes, it is different than Hillary Clinton. Even Barack Obama, any other presidential candidate, political candidate that we have, they know that their words can be taken and turned against them. And they speak a certain way, but they answer without answering. You know what I mean? You ask them a question, and we'll have to see what the public thinks.
Nuanced speech.
And it just makes me not trust anything that they say. And maybe that's why people latch onto Donald Trump so much, is because he does say what he wants. Even though he sounds like a clown and a fool, and he'd be a terrible leader, political leader, ambassador, just foreign relations. You know what I mean? He'd be terrible. But he says what he feels, and maybe that's why people connect with him.
But if it had to be one of us and running for office again,
I'm voting for you, Ace. You running for president, I'm voting for Ace. Ace all the way.
She said us, she mean either me,
you know what I mean?
I just said, or another black person. Let us say what we you know what I'm saying, really wanted to say how we feel, it'd be totally different.
Yeah, I mean, it is totally different now, right? I think the reason that it's totally different is because white people are still the majority, you know? So when they hear us say, you know, this is unfair, we've been racially profiled and discriminated against, they'll say, oh, but it's not that bad. Look how better things have gotten. You know, we have civil rights. You can go out and get a job, go work for it. You know what I mean? I heard Umar Johnson in his Hidden Colors documentary say that, you know, they'll say, you know, look at these Asian people, look at these Indian people. They came over here and they own, they have 2 gas stations, a restaurant. They open up their own business. Or you can do the same thing. When we're being discriminated against systematically, you know, we can't get business loans to start a business, and
our family's in debt. Our family,
we don't pass on wealth from one generation to the next. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just that way of keeping black people suppressed and not on the same level as you is how we're being discriminated against. Not openly in your face, hung from a tree, dragged down the street, or being called a nigger to your face. It's more of a systematic, legal way of being racist now, as opposed to in your face.
Systematically denied wealth. Like that was a term you used, right?
I think black people have to do a better job, like he was saying in that video, of supporting each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right?
I mean, and it's just being indoctrinated into the system, the economy of working. Like, we all have to go to work tomorrow, right? It's Monday, right? Now, if there was any type of political march or activist movement tonight, you know, that we all went to go march in and we all were joining and chilling with, and the cops came and they said, hey, you guys don't disperse, we're going to lock everybody up, you know. Yeah. Now, we might chill, hang out for a second, but the minute they start arresting people and actually sending people to jail, that's the moment when a lot of black people might say, you know what, I got to go to work tomorrow. I got kids, I got bills, I got to pay my daycare. Yeah. Right. It's just that level of being indoctrinated into the system.
Shit, I do too. That would be me.
I do too. I got bills.
I lose my good government job.
Anybody want to pay my bills, please let me know. Hey, can you pay my bills, please?
Can't pay mine.
Yeah, so it's like it's that, and just the fact that we just don't do as good of a job supporting each other as other races do. You know, like you might have an Asian who owns a business. They'll hire another Asian just because of the fact that they're Asian, right? That same interview with Umar Johnson, Envy was saying that, you know, Envy's from New York, and blah, blah. He's a black guy. He's saying that he's walking down the street and he might see a group of guys coming towards him, 4 or 5 black guys in hoods, and he'll think twice about it. Man, these dudes, I don't know what to think about these dudes. I'll do the same thing.
Me too, yeah.
Which is, you know what I mean?
And right? It's a smart thing to do, and yet you feel bad about it.
Exactly. At the same time, it's like, I don't want to automatically judge these guys, but it's just the way
So wait, you just use that scenario. So why or how can we be mad at other races when they judge us when we judge ourselves?
That's what he was saying. It's like, if I'm sitting there judging them and thinking twice about walking past them, then you know other races are, you know? Which is just the way that our minds have been trained to think.
But it's not about the visceral reaction all the time. Sometimes it's about assessing the logical way. So why is that the scenario? Why is that what we feel? And a lot of times the reason we feel that way is not from our personal experience. And it goes back to media. It goes back to media. How we're portrayed. How we're portrayed in movies, how we're portrayed in the news, how we're portrayed in every form of media. And the number one source we get our information from over the last 100 years, and definitely in the last, and it's only changed recently, but over the last 50 to 100 years, it's been the television, you know? And I don't know if television is 100 years old, so don't quote me on that. But the main source has been the television. Fox News has always been a big, major source of information for the mass of the United States, right? And only recently have a lot of people realized that Fox News has skewed the information in the news for so many years against, not particularly against black people, but it's always seemed like it's been against black people, but definitely for the Republican, for the conservative, for the people that black people usually, for the groups black people are usually not a part of, right? So it's always been a fear-mongering station. It's always been fear-mongering, or fear-mongering broadcast. But not only that, it's always just been the way black people have been portrayed in our media, right? So I think like once we address that, and once we also get to understand that you are like when we see those people walking down the street, we have to realize at the same time that we're those same people walking down the street. Mm-hmm. Like if you look at somebody else and this 4 guys walking down the street, you know, you have to realize that when you're with your friends, you're 4 guys walking down the street, mm-hmm. you know, and you can't always suspect. Like, look, if they're obviously, if you know them as being rough people, or if you know them for a fact as being troublemakers, or if they seem to be displaying some kind of dangerous.
But even if you don't know that, if you just see them, the way they're dressed, their first appearance, sometimes you think that. That's just the way of our minds have been trained to think. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we've been trained to think that the black guys are the big bad guys. You know what I mean? They're the guys who come and rob you and steal this and steal that. You know, just based upon the way they look from the outside. You know, and if I think that, you know, just like Emmy said, if I think that, you know, a conservative white person, whatever, is thinking that same thing. You know, which is just unfair because I feel like I've been profiled that way sometimes. You ever be the only black guy in a room and things are kind of like uneasy when you're in there? You know what I mean? Like they're not really, you know, it seems like people are kind of uncomfortable.
You be the only black person in there.
Yeah, it's like, all right, I'm a person just like any one of you. You know what I mean? But you feel uncomfortable yourself, you know? Yeah. And, you know, maybe we have to do a better job at giving ourselves opportunities and keeping our money in black hands.
And black banks.
I was thinking about that. Like, if they started up a black bank.
There are black banks.
But you see, that none of them are big. None of them is not a Wells Fargo or a Chase or.
But that's the question. Like, what's the benefit to the average person that your bank is big? Like, you just need a place to put some of your money. Mm-hmm. As long as they got checking.
To use the benefits of having your money in a bank.
Right, you know? As long as you have those basic benefits, like, fine, go ahead and
I would definitely join a black bank, man.
Yeah, me too. I just don't know of any locally. But I want to go back to that point I was trying to make earlier and I forgot. So, there was an article in the Daily Beast. I think it was the Daily Beast. And they were talking about how they had some, they ran some tests and they did some experiments about perception. I think it was perception and reaction. So, they noted that in a series of images that were flashed in a series of microseconds, in the span of a microsecond, people had pretty much standard reactions to the images that were shown until they showed a black face, at which point the person's adrenaline level and their chemical level, a certain chemical level, which I don't remember which one it was, but this chemical that was related to fear, it spiked. And even though it was in such a short amount of time that the person wasn't able to consciously react, like their body physically, biologically reacted to the image of a black face. And they experimented on, I think, regular people, and they experimented on police officers, which to me was a big thing. So there's automatically, and that goes to show, and they did a number of times, so I think it was a pretty solid study. It goes to show that that there is an anxiety around black faces. And I think, like I was just saying before, like, it's going to come down to specifying why there's this anxiety towards black faces. You know? Like, why people are so afraid of black people. And people love to throw around, like, skewed statistics, but saying that black people are more violent and stuff like that. But that's obviously not true when you really look at the
black
numbers.
People are more violent / aggressive.
Black people are poorer, and being poor leads to crime.
It's all about the environment that you're raised in. But not initial violence.
Black people are not initially more violent. Black people are responded to, have received more violence because of their black skin than they've given.
Maybe that's why we are more aggressive or more violent when pushed to those extents. I mean, it's all about the environment you're raised in. If you are born and you're raised in the ghetto and you don't have much money and you have to kind of struggle to survive, you have a tendency to be more aggressive when you see the opportunity to get money or to get ahead, or maybe you are more violent when approached from an aggressive standpoint. You'll have a tendency to turn more violent quicker than somebody who wasn't raised in an environment where they didn't have to be violent.
It's easy to get angry when you're pointed out or when you're picked out because you're black. Like, it's easy to get angry and raise your voice in that scenario. Because we've all been there. Like, some shit goes down and you'll be like, I'm the only one getting fucked with, and I'm the only black person here. It's that coincidence. Not like it. You get angry, easy to get angry with that.
Do you think it has anything to do with we as black people, we hold grudges? Or we're being, you know what I'm saying, like, not so much repressed, but just from our history. So we're always, like,
especially black women. I'm sorry, black women, y'all can hold a grudge like it ain't nobody business. Like, it'd be 10 years later and y'all still be mad about the same thing. Like, black men, we can get mad and kind of move on, you know, squash it.
Not all black women. Thank you very much.
Not all black men either. Not all black men can squash it and move on.
Right.
Some cuts are just too deep, but for the most part, black women, man, y'all beef like no other race of women on earth. You know what I mean? Especially amongst each other. You know. Somebody else pointed out, I think it was probably on that Hidden Colors document. I just watched it the other day, so it's fresh in my mind, that there was never a coalition movement between black females and white females because both groups were discriminated against. I mean, black people as a whole, but even white women were a minority. They weren't accepted into, you know, they looked at more as like a whole person than a black female was, but they weren't accepted into like with voting rights and just the ability to go out and work and provide for your home and to be a single parent. They were discriminated and kind of held down, suppressed, you know, almost as much as black women were. And there was never a movement of both races of women towards the freedom of women in America, you know, which is maybe why a lot of women beef more than maybe males do, you know what I mean?
Classicism, I guess.
Right? I mean, it was just interesting, man. Hidden Colors 4, man. If anybody's listening to this, watch that video.
It's like a number one promotional video for that.
It was really cool, man. So, I mean, how do we fix it, man? Even Umar Johnson was saying, start up black businesses and black banks. Keep black money in black neighborhoods.
And don't ask for a discount just because it's black-owned business and you black.
We have to educate ourselves.
That's true. That's
a big one. Maybe going to black-owned schools and getting more black teachers and African subjects in school. And I mean, like you said, they're not going to give it to us. They're not going to teach us about it themselves. We have to teach ourselves. You know,
teach the importance of it.
Let me ask you a question: If your daughter, you know, my son was in a public school, and they opened up a black school in the neighborhood, would you let your daughter go to that school where there were black teachers and they taught arithmetic and writing and all the regular things, but they focused, instead of learning about Greek history, they learned about Sumerian history,
and they taught you about how to cut your credit.
Yeah,
budget,
exactly.
Finance.
And how the
actual
economy
useful,
works.
how to do your taxes.
Yeah,
actual
exactly.
Useful skills.
Exactly.
Oh, definitely. I will let's go.
Economics and how to start your own business and how banking works.
Algebra ain't shit.
Equity.
You ain't gonna use it.
Right. All you need to know how to add and subtract.
Exactly. That's it.
Maybe multiply.
I work in accounting. That's all I need. Yes. I can multiply from time to time. I don't even divide. It's add, subtracting, and checking for differences of guns.
I don't think we have all the answers here on the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, but you know, it's a good forum for us three to bring our ideas to light and let the world know how we feel.
Yeah.
Anybody listening to this and they agree, comment.
Disagree.
Bottom of the video.
Comment.
Even if you disagree, comment. Yeah, we'd like to hear it.
And if you got questions that you want to ask us, or topics you think we should address, also make those known in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. Like we're open to all kinds of ideas. Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast. Like, all about your intelligent ideas.
All right, so now on to another intelligent idea. Man, this is where we need that gavel so we can just bang and
boom.
you know, change topics. So real quick before we get out of here. Pokemon Go.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Hey, so you play Pokemon Go?
I sure do not.
Yes, you do. So,
D, have you tried it yet?
no, I haven't. All right?
What? Come
I
on, man.
refuse
Look,
to join the mainstream and try Pokemon
D's a hipster.
Go. All right,
He's
I'm
just
not
a
gonna do
hipster.
it.
Look, it's great. Pokemon Go. Let me just the main breakdown of Pokemon Go. In case you don't know what it is,
I don't.
is it's a augmented reality platform you use over your phone that overlays a map of your city within the game, right? And in the city, there's points where you go to, you re-up on an equipment, and there's also Pokemon in the area, which you can use your equipment to catch. And once you catch them, you can level them up, you can battle them, and you can take over the other areas in the city called gyms. That's the main basic breakdown of what Pokemon Go is.
Haven't people been dying and getting killed and hurt playing as Pokemon Go?
Yes, but dumb people get killed and hurt texting and walking into manholes. So, look. So the thing is, there's been a whole lot of media hate, and I just want to dispel a lot of that. Dumb people are in every genre, okay? It doesn't matter if you play football, basketball. It doesn't matter if you like video games or you just watch porn all day. People die porn. David Carradine, goddamn, choked himself in the closet with a hooker. All right, so I'm just saying people can die in any scenario.
Asphyxiation or whatever.
Yeah, right. So I'm saying people can die in any activity. I just,
Man, I think as Americans, we crave distraction and we crave entertainment, which is why movies and video games and cell phone games are so popular now. We just spent the last hour speaking about the political climate in our country and the racial tensions that are underlying all of those. And amongst all that, a game called Pokemon Go happens to come out. Now, I'm not saying it was any kind of
It's a distraction.
It definitely is a distraction. But as Americans, we crave that. We love YouTube. And we love Pokemon Go. We love not having to think about the real issues at hand. And we love being distracted. That's just the culture we were born into, as Americans. It's just funny, man, that this game is... And I'm not saying that because all these negative things are happening around the country, you're not allowed to have some levity in your day. You work hard, you go to work, you take care of your family, you pay your bills. If you want to unwind playing Pokemon Go, and that's how you relax and
be responsible,
calm down, that's fine. But when I see a video of 200 people stampeding towards a certain spot where a rare Pokemon just appeared, it's a problem. Okay, it's a distractionary tool that is not going to go anywhere. It's just going to be expanded upon now because they see the power of it, and it's just another means to keep us from thinking about the real issues that are at hand.
So yes.
Now I say that. And even I say that in spite of me sitting here playing the PS4 when you two walked
right.
in.
I just walked in to see a D's play.
Okay.
What game was
that's
that?
That's fine. Okay. Lords of the Fallen.
Lords of the Fallen.
Okay. Hey,
and it looked amazing. That don't look phenomenal.
That is hard.
All I know is that it's a fun game.
Okay.
And I think
fine.
anybody who has a game in their house or on their phones, tablets, doesn't matter. We
crave distraction.
We crave distraction and we crave entertainment. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's definitely not anything wrong with that. I think to a degree we can only intake so much, right? So about Pokemon Go, this is just a great way.
You can't let it be your addiction.
Right. Don't let it be your refuge and in that way become your addiction.
Right.
Like if you're doing things because you can't handle reality, then you may need to see somebody or, seek professional help. But the thing about Pokemon Go,
Ace got it on our tablet.
Is this is a fun interactive.
I never played Pokemon at all.
And and it allows you to move around the city. So this is, and the reason they call it augmented reality, and why I think this is a great stepping stone for games of the future, is that it pretty much everything in the game has proximity to reality, right? So they'll be open. Pokemon will gather more so in certain areas. You can set lures at certain locations on the maps for more Pokemon to come. Mm-hmm. Certain areas in an area are gyms, at which point you will go and you will be able to claim those gyms if you can defeat. If you're a Pokemon strong enough, do your own interactive battling in the game. Like, you battle these things yourself in the game, and you'll be able to claim that gym for yourself. Now you wonder, oh, what's the value in that? What the fuck is the value in winning the Street Fighter? You know, it's a good game. It's something you enjoy doing. It's fun. So there's a lot of speculation. And so here's a funny thing I heard on. I was watching TYT the other day, and there was this one pastor who was having an issue because there was a guy who was near his church, and he was hunting a Pokemon. And first off, they were trying to figure out, all right, what's this guy doing? So they like closed the doors, and they were like, oh my God, he's freaking out. Which to me was the first indication of, if you're a church, don't you want people to come to your church? I mean, this would be a great opportunity to preach the word of the Lord to them. But, you know, that's cool. But the other thing was that the pastor all of a sudden on this talk show radio went on a rant talking about how Pokemon are really nothing more than cyber demons. And that these cyber demons are now infiltrating our churches and infiltrating the homes of people, and they're invisible, and you can only see them do this thing, which means that they're the devil. And shit like that. And I remember hearing that, John. I was weak. And second off, I was just like, look, this is more reason for people to be afraid of something new. There's really nothing. There's no reason to be afraid, guys. Come on.
There's no reason to be afraid, but there is a reason to be irritated and annoyed. You know, when I see 200 people stampeding towards an area, or when I'm trying to, do something at my church, maybe it's closing time in my store, and you see somebody wander in, I'm just hunting Pokemon. It's like, come on, bruh, we got bigger things to worry about than Pokemon, you know what I mean?
Well, look, if an asshole runs in your store talking about you hunting Pokemon, kick him the fuck out.
I mean, that's fine. I understand. I understand distraction. I understand entertainment. You know, luckily, and one thing I don't want people to get mixed up is that we don't hate America. This is probably the greatest country that we possibly could have been born into.
Yeah, we lucked out. We
have a lot of freedoms here that we maybe wouldn't be afforded in other countries or other places of the world. We have the ability in America to sit down and talk on the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast and put across ideas. We have the ability to get a cell phone or a tablet and play Pokemon Go. You know, but there's a lot of things that we could be worried about and taking more seriously than Pokemon Go. And I think that's where a lot of people's annoyance comes in. It's just the fact that it's a video game, man. It ain't for real. You know, people get mad. I'm playing the PlayStation. Right. People get mad.
How much are the Lakers tickets going for right now?
You know what?
How much are the Lakers tickets going for?
There's a guy at my job.
Niggas paying mad money trying to get first row seat to what?
Look, trying to talk me into it. Well, I'd rather go to a Lakers game than play Pokemon Go. That's just the experience would be way better going to a Lakers game.
You know what I'm saying?
But
until you start playing Pokemon Go, then you're like, man, I don't know. This is rare Pokemon over this junk.
I'm not going to look for a Charizard nowhere, dog. All right, I'm going to stay in the crib.
Hey, but look, just start.
So look, there was this guy at my job trying to convince me to play, and I was like, man, so what are you doing after work? He said, man, I'm about to go hunting. And he looked at me like he was dead serious, Ace. I'm like, yo, bro, it's not real. You're not really going hunting. You know what I mean?
I might have used that phrase.
You're not hunting. You're just playing a game on your cell phone. You know what I mean?
Clearly, we can see I don't play Pokemon Go. I'm not into the video games like that. Actually, at all.
It's weird how obsessed people get on certain things.
Look, can you understand the allure though of it? Like that's all we're trying to express, from the pro Pokemon Go camp to the anti Pokemon Go camp. Like there's an allure to this is hunting. Like when you go, look, I know you guys be like, no, I don't have a bow and arrow. I don't have a bow and arrow. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a shotgun.
So like you literally run around DC looking for Pokemon?
I'm not running. I'm walking, and I'm using the map as a guy,
So,
and
and
I'm looking for a specific thing. And there's things that are around that you like, I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that. And then
So
what
are there
you do
actual
want,
Pokemons out here somewhere?
there's probably Pokemon in this house right now.
So like when you
I
when
have
you
terrible
walking
service.
around hunting or looking for, it's like on your screen, I guess.
Mhm.
So then when you get like hot or cold or innocent, it'll pop up on your screen showing that you
It'll
have
pop
it
up,
or
yeah.
something.
Oh, it'll pop up saying that it's nearby, and you can try to catch it. It's not. You have to try to catch it then, and that's a whole nother thing. Like it's I can't explain it.
So
to
where
me
are some
what
of the
makes-
places
it's
you've caught a
fun.
Pokemon at?
Yeah. So a place I caught a Pokemon recently was at my my girlfriend's cousin's house. And all right, so listen, that joint, it wasn't like a rare Pokemon or anything special, but it was strong, right? So there's power levels in these things. You can catch them. You use all these tools to try to catch them so they can become yours.
Mm-hmm.
I spent 15 minutes literally trying to catch this damn thing, and in the end, it got away.
That's 15 minutes. You could have been educating yourself about your history.
I already did that at work. I do that shit at work.
She got you right there, though, G.
Nah, son, no. Because I do that junk. Anyway, the whole thing is that the game is interactive, it's engaging, it changes constantly. Like, I don't know what else you would want from a game. You're not just sitting there watching. You're a part of it. It's laid over your world.
I can tell you right now, I ain't about to go hunting no Pokemon. You ain't about to have me out. It's 100 degrees outside too.
Mm-hmm.
You out here hunting for some Pokemon.
All I know is I ain't played it, so, you know.
You think you're addicted?
I hear you.
Look, I'm not hunting Squirtle.
You think you're addicted to it?
D.
I'm not hunting Squirtle in 99-degree weather, though.
Right.
Until you see you could beat with that jump.
You know what? I feel you. It
I'm just
probably
saying,
would be
you
cool.
ain't played that jump, so I hear you.
It probably would be cool if
But
I
you
actually
ain't
did
played
play
it,
it,
you know what I'm saying?
but I haven't played it, and I have no plans on playing it. So
Next week,
Yeah.
you're going to be like, yo, I played Pokemon Go.
I'm good, man.
Oh my god, it's amazing!
Look, I got my PS4. If I crave
Look at
distraction,
my
I can do it
Squirtle.
on there.
The only
I'm trying to
Pokemon I ever played was on an arcade game back in
What?
the day. Pokemon, an arcade game, you know?
Look, I can play Far Cry
Game Boy?
right now, where
No,
I have
like
a bow
in
and
a
arrow, but that doesn't
arcade,
mean I'm really
a
going
video
hunting.
arcade where they have like Pac-Man and Galaga and Mario.
Wait, man, Pokemon Arcade?
That's what they did. I'm about to Google.
Ace was playing Pokemon on the regular Nintendo, on the first Nintendo.
No, I never played it on the
They
regular
ain't had it on
Nintendo.
the first.
Exactly. Exactly. That happened. Oh man. Well, I mean, the Pokemon craze is taking hold of America. Oh,
Look,
except for
all
me
I
and
know
Ace.
is-
Ace, we in there. Okay, we not falling
Yeah,
into the
y'all
trap.
in there with you the out.
We not falling into the
Y'all
trap.
out in that joint.
We in there, but
But it's
we
cool
out
though.
there.
You know what I'm saying? You out of that. But you in that joint. Y'all could be like the hipsters and shit.
Another-
you know what I'm
another
saying?
pop
Like I was
culture.
the first person to not play this.
Yeah, I guess.
I love not playing cool shit.
Another pop culture topic we had before we get out of here. The new trailer for the Justice League came out. Now, I know, Ace, you might not be particularly interested in this, but me and Juice are, being the males that we are. You know, a lot of sci-fi, fantasy, superhero genre is male-driven. You know that?
What?
It is, man. No doubt. Like, women really don't get into a lot
I mean
of
the
superhero
superpower
kind of things.
ball smashing.
I don't understand it. I don't get it either. I don't-
Space jumping.
I don't get it either.
That
no.
shit's for men.
I don't understand it.
That shit's
It's
crazy.
like, I don't understand how they don't like this stuff. But
I don't understand. Hey,
I
Ace.
thought the trailer looked awesome. I know Juice was in here questioning the CGI watching it.
all I think is
Pre-show.
Cyborg's outfit. First off, he looks short. I think Batman was taller than Cyborg.
They looked
Isn't
freaking
it?
awesome on screen.
But his costume, the CGI just looked weak.
My whole hang up about this movie is the failure that was BVS. And my concern that DC didn't really learn their lesson over that movie. You know, I want to see how Suicide Squad goes before I really make a final judgment on this movie.
Well, you gotta admit, this one looks a lot more lighthearted than Batman vs Superman.
That makes me worried because they didn't land any of the comedy in Batman vs Superman. Now, the only comparison
I
we
literally
have,
can't remember any comedy in that.
the only comparison that we have
You're
is
right.
Marvel movies. And the latest Marvel movie, Captain America: Civil War,
Actually, it was
killed it in comedy. It was funny. It was action packed. It was funny, you know.
Not have any orange slices.
So that's how we have to compare it to DC movies. And if they're not as funny as that, and it feels like they're trying too hard, or the jokes are just landing flat, it's going to make the movie that much less enjoyable. So hopefully they stick the action. That's where DC has to make their mark. They have to stick the action scenes, the action sequences, and they have to make them super interesting. And hopefully, with all these characters being in one movie, because the only solo movie we see coming, Batman's in Suicide Squad, even though that's not his solo movie. They had Man of Steel in this universe, is Wonder Woman. We haven't seen a preview for Aquaman. We haven't seen a preview for Cyborg or The Flash, even though The Flash has his own TV show.
They should have took their time.
It all just makes me kind of worried because I don't trust them the way I trust Marvel. When Marvel movie comes out, when I saw the previews of Captain America last year, Civil War, I was like, man, this movie's going to be fucking tight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You just knew it was going to be a good movie, you know?
Yeah. You're right.
Man of Steel didn't get high reviews, but after Batman vs. Superman, I just don't trust DC. I don't trust DC.
You're
I
right,
love
man.
Man of Steel,
like I just feel like they should have taken their time with this. If they're going to do Justice League, they take your time, put it together. Like, that was the thing Marvel did, is they took their time. Like, and they gathered the characters. They had serious character development, and they had good movies leading up to Avengers, you know? And then after Avengers, then they moved on to Ultron and Civil War, and they had the continuity, and everybody knew the backstories, you know? And and the comedy team, you're right, the comedy team's good. The only thing worse than no jokes is jokes that just fall flat, you know?
And that's
like,
what was happening in Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Happening. They were just falling flat.
And
it wasn't funny.
There was definitely an element to that. And
even the action
Bruce
lacked.
Wayne and Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne.
He was the best part of the movie.
Need. Well, you're right, but he wasn't funny.
No, I don't think he's supposed to be though.
But he is. You saw him with the Flash in that joke, trying to be cute, trying to be sit with Wonder Woman, trying to be I don't know.
I wouldn't take Bruce Wayne as a jokester or a comedian, not
Bruce
like Tony Stark. Maybe he's a little more debonair, maybe a little more witty than Batman, of course. But you know, him being Batman as his alter ego, I don't think he'd be the comedy genius that we're thinking. We'll see how this movie goes, man. I still want to see it. I still want to see Wonder Woman. I'll probably go to the movies to see all of them. I mean, I'm just a geek.
I'm
superhero
not excited about
like
Wonder
that.
Woman.
I'm gonna go see Suicide Squad.
That looks freaking awesome.
That's gonna be what, August 5th?
Yes.
So that's gonna be cool. And they're like really hyping the Joker on this jump, man. So I don't know. Knock on wood, I think it's gonna be good, man.
Hopefully they come out. And you know, we were just saying how Americans crave distraction. I crave this movie, man. I want to see this movie, man. This is distraction 101 right here, man. Put out a superhero movie, Derek's gonna go see it. You know, D is gonna go see it.
They might have some rare Pokemon there during the opening night.
No. I see anybody Pokemon hunting while I'm trying to watch Justice League.
Doesn't that come
They
out
gonna
in
stand up
November?
want to get my
in the
money
front
back.
row in front of you and shit?
Want to get my money back.
You gonna smack the front of their hammer?
Get the fuck out the way. Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Well, I guess that about covers it for episode 8. H, you have anything you want to say about Justice League, Suicide Squad?
Justice League.
Black Lives
in
Matter.
theaters, November 4th.
Was it November 4th? You got good memory.
Oh, word. All right. You
I
got
hate
good
when
memory,
they do
Joe.
that. Like, this is what, July, August, September, October, November. Like, really?
Justice League for November?
November?
Are you sure?
Wow, I thought it was next year.
Me
It said
too.
November 4th. That's the first preview we
Maybe
watched,
2017. It can't be November.
No, I think you might be talking about Doctor Strange.
Right? Was it?
'Cause we watched Doctor Strange. I know that comes out in the fall.
Yeah.
Maybe
Justice
I'm
League,
wrong.
if they release that movie this year, because they released Batman vs. Superman in March. So Justice League in November? I'm like,
Okay.
man, they are
I'm
really
wrong,
rushing through this thing.
2017 Justice League. So Doctor Strange. Why you didn't talk about Doctor Strange?
Because we already know that's going to be dope.
It's a Marvel movie. Any Marvel movie is just tight.
Yeah, it wins. It's winning.
It automatically wins next to DC. So,
Gonna be tremendous.
So, I guess that's going to take us out for episode 8.
Yeah.
Any
Middle
final
outro.
thoughts for anybody?
Check out our SoundCloud regularly. And every time we release a new episode, it'll be up on the SoundCloud until our next episode is up. So however long it is between those 2 points, you can catch the episodes on SoundCloud if you just want an easy audio venue to listen to our podcast. Thanks for listening, guys.
Definitely one that burns down the battery less. I think the main avenue people listen to it is still YouTube. That's how I check it out. But YouTube has a tendency to burn the battery the fuck down.
It does.
God damn.
And I get complaints from people about YouTube. Oh, I can't listen to my phone easily, so SoundCloud should be able to help with that. But all the older episodes are going to be linked to our YouTube.
And also for anybody who wants to see kind of like behind the scenes of what goes on in the studio with the Intelligent Idea Talkers, check out our Instagram, intelligent_idea_talkers. That's also up.
And follow us on Twitter at Intella_talkers. INTELLI_talkers. Yeah, check us out, man. I guess hopefully we'll be back on more of a regular schedule. We'll talk about the logistics of that, I guess, after the show here. Yeah. And so hopefully, we'll have episode 9 up next week. And I guess that's going to take us out, man. Everybody stay safe. Black lives matter, yes, but all lives do matter too. That is true. It's just that black people are the ones getting shot. Right on, I guess we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for listening.
I'm your host, D.
This is Juice.
The one and only Ace.
To the seat, to the eat, you know me. All right, guys.
Peace and blessings.
Peace.